A collection of weapons that have rapidly decayed, covered in a black sludge, likely discarded by the guards while fighting the hollows. A disfigured and warped corpse reaching up from the river. A hollow or one of their victims? Yeah. Recognize him?
Even though you traffic with darkness, you have accomplished much good in the eyes of the cathedral. I can understand why Prava has tolerated you this long. But if the church is to survive, it must hold tight to its convictions. Either the rules apply to everyone, or they do not actually exist. That builds trust. The heretic Neyrel has fled holy judgment. Wielding the very soulstone she stole from our brethren as they lay dying in hell. Where is the girl?
I see no reason to help you find her, Knight.
How many lives will you trade to protect Neyrel? Is her life worth more than his?
You bastard!
No one is above the laws of heaven. Burn away the darkness!
who saved your life. Or Eru, if you like.
Eru. Thank you. But... why? Why save me?
Couldn't very well leave you to fester in the river. Bad for the fish. What brought you to Nahantu?
I'm looking for my friend, Nerel. She is somewhere out there. With a prisoner. A dangerous prisoner. I need to make sure she's all right.
Sounds like we should find her.
Oh, okay. So, the last time I did that cutscene... So, the first time I did that, I went through that cutscene was with my Spiritborn in that season, in the previous season. When I did it again on my Necromancer, it crashed, like, right after he stabbed her. So, I was worried that it was going to happen for the playthrough. Thank goodness it didn't. By the way, when I did this on my Spiritborn, Eru here says, I am a Spiritborn, like you. So, as you can imagine, there is some unique dialogue here if you play a Spiritborn, obviously, because we are now in Nahantu. Which has a very familiar city from Diablo 2, which I'm sure some of you would like to see. But yeah, that cutscene. So, yeah, we get to see a bit more of who Uravar really is. And of course, we get to see how he really came out of hell. The way he really looks. And of course, I should have responded about this earlier with Prava. If you're wondering, why did we never hear about this guy before? Because, as Prava said, he was a nobody. He was just a nameless, faceless person, part of the army. He just came out of the whole thing basically a different person, as you could see. Also, I laugh at him saying, no one is above the laws of heaven, to which I'm like, how about I take you to go have a chat with some of the archangels about that? I'm just saying. How did you save me? Was I dead?
Dying, not dead. I just gave you the kick you needed. Frankly, I'm surprised they worked at all. Thought for sure I was too late.
No kidding. What happened to me? My hands won't stop shaking.
Don't know. You just washed up on the shore. As for the shaking, you lost blood. Whole river was stained with it.
Also, my poor buddy Rahir and his arm. You saw what he did to him, right? I was like, please let me get this guy, but if I did, he probably would have just killed Rahir right there. You're just gonna help me?
This is Nahantu. Help is needed, so help is offered. Unless you are refusing. Good. Then let's search the river. Bound to be some sign of your friend. Someone up ahead.
I heard something this way.
Oh, just some more burn knights. Oh, hi. We're here!
Yes, I knew it. I knew those thugs couldn't kill you.
A friend of yours?
Yup. And he's fighting without his... Oh. Whoops. So, yeah, this is what I was talking about. I should have been paying attention. But I was going to say, look at Rahir fighting with one arm! Rahir's a badass. I'm just trying to make that point clear. Ah! Okay. Pretty sure that's the first time you guys have seen me die in this playthrough. Well, if you were wanting it to be tougher on me, you're getting it now. But yeah, right here... Dude, my man. You're alive, but your arm.
I only lost a limb, but you were run through and drowned. How do you manage?
They wouldn't have, without me.
Eru here patched me up. Perhaps he could help you too.
No amount of healing will bring back my arm. But Ram might ease the sting.
I'm afraid you will need far more than a drink to ease the pain of that wound.
You're right. Could use a place to sip on it in peace. I know a spot southeast of here.
Really? So I will say this is a little weird and awkward that... That's right, oh no, it's a werewolf, oh no! That rather than him leading the way, we're actually just kind of like following the map. It's like, okay, we're here, why are you not, you know, leading the way on this yourself? Shouldn't you? If you're like, I know the place, he should be the one leading us, not us kind of like, oh, let's go where the map is pointing us.
You're being hunted by the Cathedral of Light?
Me and Nerel both.
Knew there was a reason I liked you.
So much explosion, fire damage going on around me. Ugh. It's such a difference. Tenants of Akarat, just ignore those. Those are like the idols of Lilith in the main game. I really had to hunt these down when the expansion came out. And it wasn't just finding them, it was then figuring out the puzzles. But sometimes they wouldn't work. Sometimes they would be bugged.
Locked. Of course they locked it down.
What do you mean? Who do you mean?
Old friends. Too crafty for their own good.
Imperial ruins like this always had some kind of a secret tunnel built in. There must be another way.
There is. But it'll take some acrobatics. Don't worry, I can manage. Come, down below.
Is this the entrance?
Oh, yes, but be on guard. There's no telling what's taken up residence inside.
Gotcha. So yeah, this is basically going to be like a dungeon. The dark passageway. Whew. I almost got hit by that.
Fight well. I thought you said you're a healer.
Among other things, I serve the spirits first.
Oh? And do they often bid you to do this much violence?
Only when there's something worth protecting.
You and I think we'll get along.
Was he just chilling up there waiting for us to finish talking before he was like, aha, I got you now? Every time I see an enemy just fall from the ceiling like that, like, aha, I'm here now, just like out of nowhere, I think of games like Dragon Age 2 that had that issue, and I was just like, ugh. Enough with the endless enemies just out of thin air, out of nowhere. Come on. Like, there were times where it felt as if, like, okay, we finished that fight, and then all of a sudden they just had a whole bunch of enemies just drop out of literally nowhere, and it's just like, come on, more? Now, of course, this is a Diablo game, so I shouldn't be surprised, because, you know, it's a Diablo game. Of course, there's a ton of enemies. Of course, you're going to have a whole bunch of enemies just almost drop out of nowhere, because, yeah, Diablo. So as you can see, with my current build I've come up with, I can even do pretty well on Torment 3, at least when it comes to damage. At least once I've got basically like all my buffs and everything going. And if I need to do more, I can just pop Hurricane and be able to have Shred do even more. The issue becomes survivability, which is why I tried to implement Blood Hell as well as Cyclone Armor, but I don't know, I guess what the Lacerate build showed me is like, oh, I guess a build that utilizes 4 defensives shows like, yeah, you could never have too many defensives. Because why not? Because, yeah, Torment 4 can hurt a lot. But that's why some of the best builds don't just do an absurd amount of damage, but they also have an absurd amount of survivability. That's one of the reasons why the Crushing Hand build for my Spiritborn was so strong, was because it didn't just do an absurd amount of damage on the entire screen, but it also kept providing tons of survivability. And I will say that one of the problems when it comes to trying to actually get to utilize some of the top builds and actually try them out and see how they are and such is, of course, trying to get all the rolls to go your way. All the RNG and everything, and sometimes it's just not going to happen, or it just doesn't happen. And it's unfortunate. And it is one of the flaws with the Diablo franchise, including this game. That sometimes, if you really want to actually participate in trying out certain types of builds and such, you can't just respec into whatever the actual build is. There's a whole bunch of layers to it. I can't just change my talents. I have to not only get the right piece of gear, but then also get the right, hope for the right tempering on it. Hope that it rolls the correct right way. That when I do masterwork on it, that it will actually like pick the ones I want it to. Otherwise, I have to completely re-roll it. And I could actually brick pieces of gear if they don't roll right, you know? In which case, I would need to use one of those scrolls to restore the tempering charges and all that.
Aha! They left the rope. Always have a backup, I used to tell them. Isn't it nice when people listen?
It is.
Mosia, then I remember it.
I took shelter from a monsoon here once.
Me too. More than once. It's perfect for what I'm planning.
Yeah, I'll talk about this in just a moment, once he explains. You're not going back to Gaeakul?
My friend, this I cannot do. The knights know my name now. Better to keep them here than in the city, where they might go after my daughter or her father.
Aren't you your daughter's father?
Fayira is well provided for, no matter where she is. And she'll have you know that I'm her papa. My point is, I can do more good here in this place than back in the city. Look, I'll show you. Walk with me a moment, friend.
I'll unbolt the main entrance.
Years ago, I ran a mercenary company out of this place. The Pale Hand. I had less to lose then. But now, the fight's been brought to me. And I think I'd be more used to you as a mercenary, a shield for hire, if you will, than a smith. Though there's a chance you'll get both out of me. And my name still carries weight. The other mercenaries will be more likely to return if I am here. And you will need their help, my friend. You will never regret hiring one of the Pale Hand into your service.
But what about your family?
Fayira will be in her father's good hands by now. He was once a member of the Pale Hand and understands my work with Lorath. This wouldn't be the first time it pulled me from home. He will bring her here when it is safe. Faye's learned to smith blades, but not to work with their wielders. So once I'm set up here, it'll be time to begin the next stage of her training. I wish it was not so, but this is the world she is inheriting.
Yeah, it's not the truth. What was this place to you?
It was a home, a headquarters, and a warehouse all in one for our little band of eccentrics back in the day. The Pale Hand couldn't afford anything nicer. The people who needed us most never had much coin to spend. We called it the Den. Never would have guessed I'd find myself back here where it all started. But whenever you need to hire our help, my friend, the mercenaries of the Pale Hand will be at your service.
Thank you, truly. But don't you need time to rest and heal?
Friend, your heart is in a good place, but you wield it with the subtlety of a hammer. This wound, this loss is mine. Mine to carry, mine to tend. I will grieve it with my family in the privacy of my home. For now, let's stay focused on Nerel. That's where the Pale Hand comes in. We can help fight your fight. My friends from those days are scattered across Sanctuary. I want you to find them and bring them here. It may take some convincing, but I'm sure you can manage.
Yep, and there they are. Again, I really wish that this gave me an option to go do their quest to find them again. So when I first did this, Rahir was here. But then there were other things over here. There was something over here, like letters and such. And it was like, what is this? And it would lead you on quests for each of these 3 different mercenaries. Because Rahir is a mercenary, but he also has these 3 others here. And they each had their own full-on quest. Aldkin over here, he's kind of a human-demon half-breed. He's a cursed child because, as it turns out, one of his parents was actually a demon. And he kind of had to live this, hidden, cursed life where he was, always on the run and always trying to hide because he also has to battle the demonic influence within him. But he's still a child, though. So he's had a very rough life as a child, but he's been able to try to kind of make a life out of it somewhat, even though it's kind of like an isolated life, to the point where then when we reach out to him and we're able to befriend him and he agrees to help us out and try to use his powers, even though we can actually... So, one of the things that you can do, but it can actually hurt you...
Do what I can.
...is that he can actually use an ability that will also hurt you. So, for example, what I'm talking about here... let me see if I can find one that's a good example here. I'm trying to see, because there's one thing I remember Aldkin doing that it could actually hurt you as well. He would do an ability like this where it would apply vulnerability to enemies, but it would also hurt you. Actually, I think it's the perk right here. Never mind, it's Blasphemous Fate. Aldkin will occasionally lose control of his curse, transforming into a ferocious demon for 22 seconds. This grants Aldkin powerful new abilities, but the unleashed evil curses you for its duration. If it's the Curse of Darkness, you and nearby enemies will become vulnerable. If it's Curse of Flames, your direct damage burns enemies for an amount over time, but you lose 8% of your maximum resource per second as it happens. So there's a give and take kind of whole thing going on here when it comes to Aldkin. In fact, he's already rank 10. Okay, so because this is Eternal, I actually don't have to level these. So normally you would actually have to level these guys and get all these different perks here. As you level them, and you basically level them as you are, and it looks like I can just go ahead and do that. As you level them, you gain these caches, you also gain this currency, and the currency goes to Fayira. So, once you get one of them to level 5, I think she shows up and you can be like, hey, Rahir, isn't that your daughter? And he's like, yes, she's here to continue learning the ways of bartering, because she's going to, basically learn the ways of being a barter, just like her papa. And so you can collect pale marks, and then you can be able to use them, because as you level these guys, as I showed here with Aldkin's rapport, you're also unlocking the ability to gain access to an extra type of cash or something else in the bartering system here. So I can be able to now, with all these pale marks, go here and be like, hey, I need these caches to try and hopefully get certain aspects that I need. Or sometimes she'll even have some really good stuff, and you can restock the supply again, either for free or with the currency, if you really are trying to get certain types of pieces of gear. So I can be able to do this and just get a ton of caches, even some for materials, if I really need so. But that's Alden's quest, is that he basically can be able to help you out, but also hurt you as well. Now, Rahir, he's going to be with us for the rest of the campaign. I'm going to keep Rahir with us, not just because he's really good, but because I think he actually is also story relevant, because he actually will provide lines of dialogue as we go through the Vessel of Hatred campaign. He'll comment on what's going on, which is why I think he's the most story relevant mercenary here, because of course we've already gotten to spend time with him. We already did his quest, so we actually know about what's going on with him and his backstory, and the fact that he's willing to be here after what he just went through to help us out, it's like, yeah, Rahir, my man. So then we have, hold on, whoops, I actually did that. So then we have Variana. So she is a berserker. She actually can provide you with basically like bleeds and a attack speed. So her perk, actually, let me show Rahir's perk first.
Shield is yours.
So his perk is Valiance. When you would be damaged for at least 15% of your current health, he comes to your aid and negates the damage, knocks down close enemies, and grants you unstoppable for half a second. So he can be very tanky for you, and he can also help make you more tanky. Then there's Variana. She stacks you and Variana stack Massacre together on kills. Certain stack thresholds grant movement speed. Basically, think of a kill counter in a game like, say, Devil May Cry, where if you get like 10 kills, 20 kills, 30 kills, Massacre bonus is basically what that is. So you can get to 100 stacks and you get 20% movement speed, and it resets after 7 seconds. It's actually pretty good. Her backstory is rather interesting. So we actually get a quest to go, and I was trying to figure this out, but there's a stronghold we go to that we have to go claim in order to actually find her. And I'm trying to remember, I think it's this one over here, actually. I think it was this stronghold right over here. I'm not entirely sure about that, but there was a stronghold you have to go to. I mean, it could have been also this one over here. I don't think so. It may have been this one. Anyways, when you go to a stronghold, and then you find more of, like, these cannibals. It turns out she is a former cannibal that she has tried to turn away, and they have a problem with her doing that. And she's trying to also help get back at some of the leaders of those cannibal groups that did this to her. And she admits to you, she actually is willing to let you, because at first she fights you. You actually have to fight her. And when you beat her, she is willing to let you kill her and eat her, because she thinks that that's your right. Having been the one to defeat her, it is your right to consume her. As you can guess, she has she's gotten very messed up because of her time being with the cannibals. She only asks that you help her with her vengeance against them. And you do so, and at the end, she still is like, all right, go ahead. And you're like, nope, I'm not going to do that. And she's like, okay. And when you talk to her, she admits to you that it's something that she is always going to deal with. It's never going to go away. This craving, this hunger. She is literally fighting within herself to keep it at bay. But it's never going to go away. It's not something she can just cure herself of. It will always be there. She just has to constantly fight it off and resist that craving, that hunger. It's a constant thing for her to deal with, but she will always do what she can to make sure that it never affects her again, because she hates that she did that, and she wants to turn away from those ways. Then we have Subo, who is a bounty hunter. I'm trying to remember his quest, but basically he's kind of like almost not necessarily just a bounty hunter, but like he can get quests or bounties to go save or rescue someone, which is what we basically do. I will admit, I actually don't remember his quest all that much. I just remember us working together to go rescue someone, and then that was basically it.
I can deal with
Subo, his perk is he reveals all enemies and materials on the map. That's his passive. He will call out to an enemy target, marking them, and killing the marked enemy will restore your maximum resource and reduce the cooldown of that ability by 10 seconds. So the fact that he can reveal all enemies and materials on the map, including materials you can gather, is actually a really, really cool thing. Now, if you don't have these... Now, obviously there's 4 of them. You can only pick one as your mercenary friend.
We will be here next.
Which, as I said, we're going to have Rahir as our mercenary friend. And one of the reasons why is not just because he's story relevant, but he has one of the most useful passive abilities as a mercenary that you could have. And it's this right here. Rahir's Guard. He grants you 15% more armor, which is huge. That is huge for your survivability on high torment difficulty levels. And he will, of course, do the shield charge where he'll run in and he'll taunt. Like I said, he's very much a tank. He can also be able to provide you a couple of different other abilities. He has Bastion. I really like this ability when I have him as... so you can have one as a mercenary, but then you can also have one as a reinforcement. So basically, you can select one as a reinforcement, and then they can emerge during combat to execute their skill, whichever one you choose. You get a number of different ones here you can choose from at an opportunity. So let's say I want him to come in and throw in a Mazel Tov. Not a Mazel Tov, not a Mazel Tov, a Molotov. Mazel Tov. You can then choose when you want him to do that. You can say, I want you to do that when I use this ability. Or you can have him cast it during any skill in combat, anytime you get injured, or anytime you get hit with a control impairing effect, like if you're frozen or slowed or stunned, and then they come in and do that ability. So there's a number of different ways you can go about doing this when it comes to these different kinds of things here. So like, I can select this one, then she'll come in and slash with her axes, and she has a chance to do some bleeding damage. Altkin, he could come in and do any of these other ones here as well. Like Chain of Souls, where he'll come in and chain some enemies, and then when they expire, they deal some damage, but they also stun enemies for 2.5 seconds, which is great for crowd control. I just sometimes get a little confused on when I actually, when I would actually want him to do these things, you know? Like, maybe when I either get injured or get hit with a control impairing effect, that would be nice, because then he can come in and kind of, like, help get me out of a bad situation, you know? But one of my favorites is Bastion here. If I have Rahir as a reinforcement, I like to have Bastion. This is actually how I'm using him on my Necromancer. I have him come in and use Bastion whenever I cast Blood Wave, just to try and help make sure that I get some extra protection here, because he'll basically do like a priest from World of Warcraft barrier to redirect damage to surrounding allies, or dealt 2 surrounding allies to himself for 5 seconds. So it can actually be pretty useful. So depending on whether one's here, basically some of the paths are actually really good. Like, you deal more damage to enemies that he has taunted. When his Valiance gets triggered, he knocks back enemies and taunts distant enemies. Your next 4 core skills can deal increased damage and cost no resource, which, considering that I am doing a build focused on a core ability, that's actually really, really nice. I may go with that, actually. And when he does this Crater ability, where he just strikes the ground and pulls in enemies, just bam, and stuns them, it'll do 200% more damage and inflict vulnerable on enemies for 4 seconds, which can be very, very nice. So any of these can be really, really good. So this is the feature I was wanting to get unlocked, because, as you can imagine, having these guys can be very, very helpful and beneficial when it comes to your builds. You'd be surprised how important Rahir, right here, giving me 15% more armor, how useful it can be when trying to push higher difficult content. The more survivability, because remember, I'm losing armor when I go to higher torment difficulty, so the fact that he can give some armor back to me is fantastic. Now, you don't have to go that way. If you wanted... If you're wanting some more resistance, you can go with this and he can give you 50% more resistance to all of your to all the elements. So he can give you just more resistance if you're needing that. So it's really up to you. Like, do you want him to come in and do this big shield charge taunt, or do you want him to do a big slam, which does a big slow? And every 3 swings we're here will heal you. So he can also be able to heal you as well, which is kind of incredible. But yeah, you can imagine this is a great system. I just wish I could do these quests again. Blizzard, develop Diablo 4 team. I am begging you. Please give me the option to do these quests again. I understand. Trust me, I love the fact that a lot of this is account-wide. The fact that I don't have to go grind and level these guys on my Eternal Realm anymore is great. I love that. But do what you've just done in this season, where you give us the option to still do the quest and we get a cash for it. Like, it's entirely optional. We don't have to do it. But if we want to do the quest again, we can at least, it's like, okay, that's our choice, and hey, here's an extra reward for it, a little cash. Just as a little, like, hey, congrats on doing the quest again. I just think that would be really nice, because then I could actually show you guys the quests. It's really frustrating for me as a content creator if I don't show you these when they first come out, that I then lose the opportunity to actually show it to you. It's really unfortunate. So, anyways. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. I'm glad I finally got this, so now I can actually use my mercenaries with my druid here, and I can be able to also now probably get my barbarian here as well, just to unlock this as well. And, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and cut off because it's also past 2 a.m. I'm going to call it a night, and we will continue this later, where we will begin, or rather, resume our search for Neyrelle with our new friend Eru. And, of course, our mercenary friends. Stay tuned.